people just it's
Not
that
having,
it's
you know,
that
this
standard.
much of a whiskey sour.
What the?
I was,
Just
like,
call it.
I was like, wait.
There
that's
ain't
not
no
what that
eggs
is.
in there, bitch.
How many eggs in a whiskey sour?
And a real original whiskey sour. It's got eggs, buddy. Yeah, you gotta whip it in there. Yeah.
Or the smoker's phlegm. I like that one.
There you go.
Nothing about that.
The original one actually had a loogie in it.
Yep. He looks concerned.
Yeah.
I'm both concerned and waiting for somebody to start laughing and say, no, I'm just kidding.
No, that's
I'm serious.
legitimate. Yeah.
Now it's a
Okay.
drop of mayonnaise.
I still have yet to ever
Except it's not
have
mayonnaise.
a. Shoehorns. All right.
And turkey vultures.
Cheers! Cheers! Cheers!
Clink, clank,
Clink, clank, clunk. Hello,
clank.
and welcome to Strange Happy Hour, the weekly tech news and video game podcast available here on the Strange Gaming Network. I am one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalf, alongside. Who's going to go first? Quick.
Handsome John.
Oh, look at him.
Johnny.
He wins. Sorry.
I looked at him and let him have it.
Oh, letting him have it over here on the left.
Dispatch Mark Clover.
And we are, of course, here to bring you all kinds of fun topics and news of the week. But first, we have our special guest of the week. John, tell us about it.
It is old-fashioned, and this is straight out of Ireland. Ingredients? You'll have to look at the recipe book to find out.
Ooh, that's right, the new recipe book, which is a playlist you can find here on the Strange Gaming YouTube channel.
You can hopefully find a link right there. I'm gonna say it because
I'm just going to say it's over here because
Kepley continues to rail me about it. So I'm gonna say if it's up, it's right here.
Kepley should rail you because you keep saying that it's there and then it's not there.
That's why I'm putting
What
the
they do in
condition
their
on.
free time is not up to us. It's up to them, you know. But of course, that is not the only important thing we need to talk about here. This week, we have
Important.
with us, right here at this table, the important. That's right. Thank you, folks.
That was not awful.
What was that?
Woo! Moving on to the dispatcher to talk to us about Google, and they had a conference, I think, maybe? I don't know.
Oh yeah, something small. You know, it's only their annual conference called Google I/O.
Dun, dun, dun.
Power, baby.
Google I/O 2019. Google I/O, for those of you who don't know, is essentially their big
Input, output?
yeah. So it's their big developer conference.
Yeah.
That's essentially focused around like some of the new tech that's coming out, some of the new software that's coming out, the APIs that are coming out, and they get a little bit more in depth with what's happening, and explaining how the AI is going to function, that kind of thing. Like this isn't just a general like consumer thing that you would come across. You can be there as a consumer if you want that. If you want, but
He's finding my input, output. And that's all. Thank you, folks.
Anywho, all right. So this is where they announce a lot of their product stuff anyway, from a developer perspective, technical perspective, that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown anyway of some of the things that have happened. First off, probably the biggest one anyway from a brand and marketing perspective, everything in their Google lineup as far as smart home products is getting renamed to Nest since Google owns it.
Okay.
Oh, really? I didn't realize they bought Nest.
The Home
I
Hub,
didn't either.
the home devices, that kind of thing, are going to be called Nest devices. Nest Home, Nest Hub, bunch of those.
So is it going to stop working with other?
Previous devices?
No. So it's still going to work exactly the same. The difference is that the API is going to change because Nest already had an API to handle a lot of this broad home network or smart home integration stuff, that kind of thing. So they're going to take that essentially and apply it to these existing devices as they are.
And that means that I can buy Google products now, and they can integrate fairly easily with my Nest products already.
Well, they already have been able to, just because
know this.
Google owns it. So
Well, I didn't know that, Mark. That's why we're talking.
This is news
So-
to us.
Chrome. So like, well, for example, if you have an Nest camera,
I do.
um,
I don't.
Chromecast,
Hackers.
Home Hub, for example, being the screen devices.
Yeah.
If you ask a Google Home device to show you the camera, it will pop it up on whatever default television for you. It'll pop it up on the Home Hub if you're telling it to a Home Hub, like a bunch of that stuff. So that's actually a feature that they came out with last year, I think. With
Interesting.
with
Okay.
some of that stuff. But the difference is that it's really just the naming semantic, and the APIs
Yeah.
are getting integrated. So everything falls under the Nest name now if it's a smart home product.
Well, branding works as well, too, because here we are talking, and
Yep.
neither one of us knew that they actually owned Nest. Now it's all...
I thought Amazon owned it, to be honest.
No, they have a different company. Ring. Amazon owns Ring.
I don't like
If I
Ring
remember
as much.
correctly. Neither do Anywho,
Sorry, Amazon.
So the next big thing, anyway, right around the corner is Android Q. Android Q's Beta 3 is available now if you want to add it to any of your Pixel devices, that kind of thing.
Is it only Pixel devices?
Right now, yes, because there aren't any third-party manufacturers that are going to come out with an Android beta or an Android Q beta for their phone devices.
I'm sorry. Is Q going to roll out to other Android devices that are currently on the market, or is it only new devices?
So it'll be for everybody. So Android by itself is an open source operating
Of course.
system.
I just want to make sure that they weren't relegating.
So
Okay.
Android Q is going to be open source and available just like everybody else.
Awesome.
You know, OnePlus is eventually going to make an edition for it. Samsung, and eventually in 3 years, will probably have a version out for it because they just implemented O or N, I think.
Come on, Samsung, hurry up.
That like they're really
Q's got some cool features.
There's a few cool things coming specifically with Google Assistant, but I'll get there in a second because there's other like smart reply features and things like that are coming with AI features like how you type and respond using text messaging, for example. It'll give predictions based on how you type to it and respond to messages to see how you would want to respond to a message.
I purposely don't use that system that's in Gmail right now, even though if it's typing out the same exact thing, because I'm stubborn. I'm just like, no, machine, you don't tell me what to write. I write it.
Even though it's writing what you want to write. Anyway.
Who's the queen of dragons now?
T9 ruined his world with cell phones.
I hate T9. Hate T9.
Last feature for me with Android Q, something that I find T9, by the way, phone app, you can use T9, and this is like features been around for a little bit. You can use T9 with the dial pad to type in somebody's name if you're looking for them in the contact list.
I'm so excited about this. I don't give a fuck.
Anywho, so probably my favorite.
I was quiet. They didn't hear me. Don't put my name on the list.
Too late it is.
No!
Anyway, probably my favorite feature anyway of Android Q is something that actually Apple integrated with the iPhone. I think with iOS 10 or 11 is well, Google's calling it focus mode.
Okay.
And essentially that you can switch off apps that pull you away from your work and sort of like control your time.
I probably need
on
that.
your own
Yeah.
But no. So like Dylan's been using it anyway to try to like minimize the amount of time he spends on social media. So like for Apple anyway, the way they do it is they automatically categorize the apps that you use. Unfortunately, it also classifies Discord as a social media app for some reason.
That's irritating.
Yeah, based on his and he's no way to change it.
Yeah.
They don't give him the ability to change it. But focus mode on Android allows you to select which apps you want to restrict your time with, or remove your ability to use the apps for a particular time period.
So does this mean that you wouldn't get notifications or anything along those lines?
Full
To
on
make
silence.
Brianna's life so much nicer.
Oh, that's actually fair, yeah.
Yeah, because
She can't tear herself away from it.
No, it's the biggest issue is work because she's
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She can't like just separate herself from it.
because when she turns off her cell phone data, they use a messaging app. And so for her to be able to mute that messaging app for a period of time that's automatic, in which she wouldn't have to manage it at all, would be perfect.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
But it's like a full-on shutdown. Yeah, you can't open it, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the last piece anyway with Android Q. On the other side of Android, Pixel 3a and 3a XL are coming out, which are essentially the iPhone R of Pixel.
Yeah.
They're cheaper versions. They're all plastic bodies. Spec down hardware on the interior. On the inside, the only thing that they are keeping are the camera lenses
Okay.
from the Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL. The goal there is that you can still take just as high quality photos as you want with the Pixel, plus it's cheaper for them to maintain the same lens anyway across devices. But the difference is that you can keep the same photo quality, which is apparently the big sell for Pixel 3, which is what they were posing for a while because their post-processing is fantastic. But they can keep that anyway on a cheaper model.
Okay.
So even if you want to just buy a Pixel for photo purposes, that kind of thing, you buy a 3A or 3A XL if you really want to. Prices for those anyway: 3A is going to be $399, and 3A XL is going to be $479 brand new, 5.6 and 6-inch screens respectively.
Cheaper models are always good, especially with these fancier phones.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's done any structural integrity tests on those, but hopefully with the plastic bodies, they don't have the same issues that like the 6A had.
I would argue that anybody who's not using a case on their phone is just asking for it to break.
Yeah.
Personal opinion.
On to the next piece of hardware, Google Home Hub, or the Nest Hub Max. That's actually what it's going to be. So the Nest Hub Max. So if you remember, a while ago, whenever Nexus was the Google line of products, there was the Nexus 7 and the Nexus 10. Well, now you've got the Home Hub and Nest Hub and Nest Hub Max, which are the Nexus 7 and Nexus 10 of stationary home devices.
I really like.
Literally, it's like I have a 7-inch screen on my Home Hub. It's a 10-inch screen on the Nest Hub Max.
I love this idea that they have these '90s commercials where it's the Nest Hub Max.
I've seen a lot of retro commercials.
Brings me back to what was the energy drink fake energy drink commercial that was on YouTube or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I'll find it.
Yeah,
I'll put it up there. Maybe.
I'm gonna keep saying that these days.
I'm gonna keep.
I was about to say there was one I'm thinking of that you might not want to play.
Run as fast as Kenyans.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Kenyans.
Run as fast as Kenya.
Anyway, so they're coming out with the Nest Hub Max 10-inch screen. Includes wide-angle Nest Cam for security stuff. So, like if you have a new Nest camera, basically with wide-angle stuff, it supports.
Well, that's what Canary has. That's what we're using. It's pretty much got a solid 180-degree camera.
Yeah.
So if you put it up against a wall, it's going to.
Why'd you pick Canary over Nest?
Originally Nest was not in my home, and Canary is, so I used that.
Also, Nest is
logical sense to me.
Stupid expensive.
Well, Canaries are actually extremely expensive,
really,
for what they are. But they also take measurements of humidity and air quality in the room. Oh, it is fancy, I know. But
how much do you actually pay attention to that air quality stuff?
I actually get reminders if there's air quality dips, which usually means that the air filters need to be changed in the house.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, which I know. I already have it on a set schedule, but
I never. It
helps remind me.
Yeah.
I never change my air filter, so it's fine.
It's disgusting.
Next piece, moving on completely to software.
Just changed it, motherfucker.
Moving on completely to software for the rest of it. Google Search is getting a little tiny upgrade anyway. They continue to boast it's still the best most used search engine out there. But they're bringing on like they have some of the built-in features like if you're searching for movies, showtimes, that kind of thing. They have built-in stuff for that. Probably the most interesting one that they're building in is the ability for you to for medical students if they want to try to research particular parts of the human body. They have 3D renders of those that they will appear on the search results that you can actually look at
and manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Can we do that with everything, Google? I know you have the capability.
So probably the one that hit me,
big booty Puerto Rican goddess.
Probably the one that hit me the hardest. Big booty Puerto Rican goddess. Anyway,
Google was a guy. Look it up.
Google Lens. Google Lens is probably bringing some of the coolest features anyway that I've seen yet. Okay. Just like Google Lens has always had the ability to basically do a photo search of whatever you find in your environment, that kind of thing, and try to give you a description of it. So now Google Lens is integrating something that they brought over from Translate, where you can point it at signs, for example.
I saw that. That's really
and
cool.
If it's in another language, it will on screen flip the language to whatever language you need to read it in, and it will read it aloud to you in that language, or whatever language it was in, that kind of thing. Or you can do a Google search on it, that kind of thing.
That is cool.
All
That's
kinds
really
of
cool.
things. Yeah.
Could have used that a long time ago.
One of the biggest features, so they actually implemented Google Lens, they always build in the AR stuff, that kind of thing, so you can be able to see what's around you. So Google
and this is not just for the hardware, but for the actual phone.
This is just the app itself.
Exactly.
So anybody can use the app.
Yeah.
Google Lens is an app that's freely available for every Android phone that's out there.
I just want to make sure we were differentiating because there's Google Glass and Google Lens.
Yeah.
Well, so Google Glass is a
I know, but I want to make sure we're clear for the audience.
So Google Lens, one of the next features anyway, so like I/O, they'd implemented a feature where you can actually use Lens and point it around Google I/O essentially, and you can see the points for different restaurants and whatnot.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's something they've implemented sort of in the Maps AR, and that stuff we've heard about that's coming. But now if you get to the restaurant, let's say you're using AR to get to, you get there, open up the menu that's in front of you, and point Google Lens at the menu. It will identify your location, find the restaurant that you're in based on what menu is in front of you, and it will highlight things on the menu that are certain recommended or highly rated items from other people who have recommended them before.
That is insane.
That is really cool.
So the demo they show is somebody scanning back and forth across the menu, and you see the highlights over top of the text, basically moving back and forth as he pans back and forth, and he zooms in on something. You can tap on it, and it'll bring up pictures of that particular type of meal, the previous ratings that other people had given it beforehand, and then it mind-blowing information that you wouldn't have picked, to see how that kind of stuff.
It's really cool. It reminds me of that episode of Black Mirror where the woman's in the area where everyone has a rating.
Yep.
Anyway, that's next.
Yeah, you wait. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, you're a 9. Can't talk to you, buddy."
So one of the next pieces too was after the meal is over, point Google Lens at a receipt. It will find out your information based on the total and make suggestions for tip, as well as give you a calculator to split prices based on how many people you have with you, or itemize who had what, that kind of thing, and who owes what.
That's pretty dope. I like that.
Neat
This
stuff.
is why we can't do math anymore.
What's math? I don't even know what a number is.
New math. Just do them in your head.
Duplex was the system that they had for the automated phone call system, where you could make call
Yeah,
appointments
yeah.
with the automated system. Now it works with web.
Oh, cool.
So the demo that they show is you making a request for like a rental car through National or something like that, and you just tell it, hey, rent a car for my upcoming trip. So it already knows you have an upcoming trip based on your email because you purchased plane tickets to go to such and such airport in Chicago or something like that. That's what they use in the demo. And it automatically identifies, oh, this is your upcoming trip. Let me go to National's website. Let me start registering for a car. Let me find a price that's relative based on whatever preferences you select anyway as you start to go through the steps. And it will automatically fill in your information, your first name, your last name, your email, your age, whatever other information you've given it at the time, and it will order it for you and give you an instant confirmation, apparently, because it's a direct digital communication between Google and the rental car company.
Interesting.
I can see this going bad. Because
goes to the wrong rental car company, goes to the wrong store.
Well, not even that, but like someone's just like abusing it. It's like, say it's like you just attach it to a different email or something, and you're making like fake confirmations for things and just going do this, and it's almost like a DDoS attack for everyone.
But you still have to put your credit card information and pay up front, though. Like that's part of it.
Hit me with the cliff notes of the rest.
Google Assistant. So this is by far the biggest piece, though. Cliff notes. 100 gigabytes is what they suggest that would be needed for Google Assistant.
Okay.
Expand it down to 500 megabytes so they can put it on a device.
Nice.
And it's near real-time communication now.
Holy cow.
Wow. So as you say something, it was reading out on screen to her at the time. So she wasn't even saying, okay, G word, every single time. So the girl who was saying it, said it the first time and said, open maps. Now open photos, switch to photos. Now open Instagram, switch to Instagram. Open up this person on Twitter, goes to this person's Twitter page.
That's pretty dope.
Wow.
That's pretty
bing,
dope.
bing, 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 over and over and over again. It was really cool. And then the last one she does is, again, not saying, the keyword, saying, take a selfie. And then it switches to the camera app, goes to face, and then, she takes a selfie with the crowd.
That's really cool.
Now, this is normal stuff that's all been implemented, but it's the fact that
quick.
The actual verbal understanding of your person, I guess it's your own personalized content on your device, instantly available, no internet connection required, like it has been.
Wow, that's insane.
Because that's the big thing that's always frustrating me about this is that even though I'm on a local network and have everything, I have to have internet for it to understand what I'm saying to it.
Yeah.
Now my phone can do it 10 times faster because I don't need an internet connection for it.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
Yep. Other than that was pretty much.
That was the big one. That's really cool. Kids, when you are alone in your room and no one's around, you should Google G word, see what comes up. Moving on to you, Mr. Handsome John himself. Talk to us about what is going on over there with the U.S. senators. What?
U.S. Senator Josh Hawley. He is a Republican from Missouri. He is trying to pass a bill that is called Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act.
Okay.
It's a little scary in the way that it's worded, and especially some of the language that's being used. But right now they're trying to ban loot boxes and play-to-win microtransactions, which right now have been kind of forced out of the mind share anyway when it comes to the way that a lot of this is going, except for games like Candy Crush, which...
Lots of mobile games.
Yeah, it's mostly mobile games that you're going to attribute.
Or other large free-to-play like Fortnite.
Fortnite is just...
Cosmetic.
Same
with Apex.
But they're talking about play-to-win stuff like you would have with Overwatch or... I think even Apex Legends.
It was in Battlefield 2 for a while.
Yeah,
Battlefield.
That's what actually started it. So back in fall of 2018, there was an investigation that was put forth by a different senator, but that was because of Battlefield 2 and another EA franchise.
Battlefront, not Battlefield. Battlefront.
What did I say?
You said Battlefield because I said.
Oh yeah, that's
true. I was
true.
Say Battlefield 2 had
yeah, Battlefront.
It was Battlefront 2 and Middle of Earth: Shadow of War.
Yeah.
Also because of those microtransactions.
That made me so sad because Shadow of War, incredible.
Yeah.
Shadow of War, loot boxes everywhere. I was like, I refuse to play that game.
Yeah. So after that, they it really kind of raised up the red flag and got everybody's attention. And so right now, basically what they're saying is that game designers shouldn't be able to monetize off of game addiction with kids, even though they have no problems with other addictive behavior like with pills or cigarettes or anything else.
No, games are the evil.
Yep.
So
he actually has a hard on for like Google, Apple, pretty much any tech company this guy doesn't like. He's been pretty upfront with being combative with them.
Is he one of those older guys that just can't get with the times, or what?
He is a Republican from Missouri, so probably. Right, like unfortunately,
That's not slander. That's real.
The high use of predatory microtransactions from previous games has really ruined it for where they're trying to manage now. But it's right now. I mean, there was an update. They said that right now, the Entertainment Software Association, they sent a statement in. They just to put a short quote in. Numerous countries, including Ireland, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Australia, which is a big one, and New
Belgium.
Zealand, they determined that loot boxes do not constitute gambling. Parents, and basically they point to parent controls. They are easy to use and they've always been available. Use them, and this will not be a problem.
No. But this is America, where it's everybody else's fault, not the parents. So where the parents possibly can't possibly be held liable for things that the kids do, even though you're the one who's legally responsible for them.
Which is what this all comes down to, and why there's going to be a giant spiff battle about everything going on. And to me, it's dangerous because it leaves the door open for other stuff and trying to blame games. I mean, look at the actual bill name: protection, children, abusive games. Like literally, that is all but two of the words.
Quick history lesson, kids. This happened in the 90s. This happened in the 90s before the ESRB was created. The whole reason the ESRB was created is because the U.S. government went, if you don't regulate yourself, we will. And so the video game industry came together and created their own monitoring system that falls into a few government-set regulations. This is just another...
Movies did the same thing.
Yes, correct. So this is another rendition of that. So all this to mitigate this is that the industry has to come together and go, guess what? We're updating the ESRB. We're going to include a new rating that shows loot boxes are on these games.
Like a modifier or something.
Problem solved.
Loot box or LB on
I'm okay with this.
They're already moving to fix this, and yet this guy is being kind of a colossal jerk about it.
All
and
about
a lot of people are saying it's because he's biased.
I'm all about it simply because it's going to force them to move faster. The problem right now is the industry's moving so slow on it because they don't have to.
Yeah, and you're not wrong, but at the same time, these predatory... well, it comes down to the fact that everybody's trying to blame games and in different facets, and I feel like this is just trying to get your feet wet into getting into another battle. Trying to blame games for violence and stuff like that. It's like, well, this is addictive behavior, and this is what leads to violent behavior. And
I don't think they go that route just because that's been disproven over and over.
They can try it; they'll just
and they beat that stick with the dead horse way too many times now.
I know. But I just it's just like anything else. For some reason, they can't concentrate on real things
they're
like
gonna find some way to regulate it.
OxyContin taking over the world.
If this passes, I'll share your fear. Until then, I'm looking at the industry going, hey, guess what? They've laid the line down. It's time for you to go ahead and make your move.
Move your ass.
Because this is what they did in the 90s, and you made your move then. Now's the time.
And,
just to clarify, ESRB is a private organization.
Correct. Yes. It is not government mandated.
That technically does have governance over what law does dictate against those ratings.
No.
Because you can't purchase a game if you're under the age of 18 with a mature rating based on the ESRB.
That's based on agreements that they have with...
Correct. Like, there's no real actual law that states that you can't do that.
It's just
game
sellers have just sort of...
Correct. It's the same with movies. Like, technically, there's nothing legally keeping you from going to see a rated R film.
The MPAA is the one responsible.
It's just the regulation of it. It's all self-regulated. So what it is
except for NC-17.
If we all...
That's a state mandated.
But that's still an MPAA.
State, not federal.
Yeah.
So if the whole...
NC-17 is no children under 17.
Yeah, but it's not a federal law. All movie ratings are also...
Why it's enforced that way.
Because, so here's how this works, is that the ESRB is part of the games industry. It's made up of people who
representation of the entire games industry.
So what it is they go to retailers and say, we're going to let you buy these games as long as you are adhering to these rules. If you don't work with these rules, we're not going to allow you to purchase and sell these games. So it's everyone self-regulating on themselves, which is why you don't see stores really getting a whole lot of backlash when they're selling Grand Theft Auto to minors.
Yeah, because the other thing, like Steam, for example, Steam has no way of enforcing that stuff properly. Mm-hmm. But by the same token, I've also seen tons of games in there that have no ESRB rating.
Well, technically, it is being fulfilled because your account. I'm assuming you can only sign up for an account with an age.
You have to put your age on.
Oh yeah, and you can't change that age. Yeah. I know that, but what I'm saying is like realistically, one, there's no way for them to actually enforce that. Versus
Correct.
going to like a GameStop where
You go
they
into
can
a
ask for
website
my
that says,
ID
"Are you
if I
over
purchased
21?"
it.
Yep.
Well, yeah. But like what I'm saying is the other side of that too is like I see a ton of games in there that may require ESRB ratings of M or AO or something like
And they
that.
come out of NR.
Well, no, but they're exactly NR
Not
for not
rated.
rated.
Yeah.
Because Steam doesn't require an ESRB rating necessarily.
Exactly. And it also costs money to get your game rated. Like, it's not free.
There's less hoops and ladders to get to watch porn than there is trying to figure out what a loot box is nowadays.
Yeah.
It's silly, and I don't disagree with you in that regard, but I think that if the games industry acts quickly, this bill is toothless.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what happens, but at the same time, just keep your guard up. Voice your opinion. I'd
How to
like to
Train
hear
Your
what you
Children.
think about it. Do you think
How
that
to
this
Train
is
Your
stupid?
Children. I love that film. Great trilogy.
How to Train Your
How
Children.
to Train Your Children. Moving on to some more litigation involving our good friends over at Bethesda.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, Bethesda is kind of monitoring themselves right now, especially after being called out. But there might be some plagiarization of their new board game from D&D. So ESO expansion Elsewhere, which is Elder Scrolls Online, they almost had an exact copy of an adventure called The Black Road
From D&D.
from
yeah.
D&D.
The campaign.
And so what was WTC? I've already
Wizards
forgot.
of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast. God, I can never remember that. They have an open gaming license, but it's not extended to content adventures that are already sold. So technically, they're looking into it. They've already pulled out all these tweets. They've already pulled off everything right now, and they're researching whether they actually plagiarized or not.
I saw they had like character sheets that were blatant
they were pretty
D&D
much
character
literally
sheets.
copy and paste.
Yeah, like it's bad.
Yeah,
It's real bad.
unfortunately, but I don't know if anything's going to happen with it. I don't know if they're just going to rewrite it or if they're going to re-release it. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
They didn't explain it. They just
I was
pulled
like,
everything
was
down
it-
and said, "We're looking into it."
I was gonna say, was there any word that said, hey, we realized we've done this, we thought it was an homage, any of that stuff, that like any of that?
It could have been
Any
a
acknowledgement to
simple oversight or just
Okay.
complete disregard to management. I'm not entirely sure how that gets past so many hurdles the way it does without it being
how many
noticed.
writers, publishers, or publisher execs, looked at this and said, yeah, that was okay.
I think the
One
big
of those
problem.
group of people that got together that were building this going, copy and paste, guys.
I think the big problem is that if you look at the RPG realm, Western or Japanese, the amount of plagiarism towards D&D is fucking astounding. Like characters, classes, enemies, realms, like abilities. There's so much stolen from D&D because D&D was the original RPG.
Yeah.
You had your pen and paper, you crafted a character, you went on your whole thing. And so I'm sure plenty of people looked at this and went, well, I mean, if you look at our game, it steals so much from it. Like, how are they going to come after us for this? And then Wizards of the Coast, who is in a situation where D&D is now on a rise. Like, prominently, it's in pop culture more so than I would argue that's ever has been. And so, of course, Wizards of the Coast is going, nay, we're protecting our property. And Bethesda's going, oh, okay, we'll just pull back.
Well, there is an open source license to use their
Certain
stuff, just
aspects.
not in the adventure. Like,
Correct.
this is a specific thing that was built by someone else. You don't have rights to that.
Correct.
I was curious how long D&D had really been around.
1970 something?
Yeah.
74.
I was going to say 73.
No, mostly because I was kind of curious to see whether or not it was under public domain yet or anything. Because I didn't know how far back
Yeah.
it stretched.
No,
either.
it's not that far back.
No.
For better or worse. We still got 60 years for that, roughly. 70? I don't know, doesn't matter.
I'll find out.
It'll be
I'm
close,
not doing
50,
fast
close to
right
50
now.
years.
Yeah.
74, so in 24, it'll be 50 years.
Yeah, 50 years.
Yeah. So,
It'll be interesting.
moving, yeah, I mean, Bethesda seems to get themselves in hot water left and right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is they're doing over there as a company. They really need to rein it in. Maybe just stop everything you do.
I would change my tactics if I were them.
It's sad because I love people like Pete Hines. I actually really enjoy their main developer. They put on Todd Howard. Like, I love their individual people, but it's like as a business, they just keep doing these weird practices, and you're like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you? But moving on to another wonderful publisher that nobody ever says anything bad about whatsoever. Talk to us about EA.
I know. It's almost like they can't be in here enough. So going on right now, they have talking about their basically defeat with Anthem. Even though they're not saying that it was, and they're still supporting it, they're saying that they're
Anthem
going
did
to
not
change
meet
their
sales
entire.
goals.
No, not at all. Not even close. But at the same time, they say they're not giving up on it. So for the people that do like it, don't worry.
Yeah.
But right now, they're going to change their entire tactic setup. They're not going to go for the get hype and then mass release because things are getting bigger. Things are taking more time. And in Asia, they seem to have better soft opens.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to work more towards that, having more soft opens and then releasing it to the general public after they feel fairly secure that it's not going to have a giant mess up. Because right now, the bad PR, especially across multiple devs, they're just tired of it. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. We're getting you hyped up because we don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, your constant news source is always in your face.
Mm-hmm.
You're always a knowledge about what's going on. If you like this kind of thing, there's no reason to have to hype you up. You know what you like and you know what you're going to want to do, and it's going to be there.
Did they not also mention that they're going to change their development style from how Anthem was developed?
They said they were going to do some internal changes. They specified 2 things. I can't think of them right now.
Because I feel like that's the big part. Like, I understand that they're focusing on this whole ramp up, hype level, we disappointed people because of this. But arguably, all of that stems from how they developed that game in general. Like, if we talked about the Jason Schreier piece on this podcast pretty extensively, and if you go through it, they talk about how that game went through years of iteration, dropping the leads, moving on to the 2017 E3, where that was the moment where the developers actually knew what they were building, so they had to rush it through development in 18 months. Like, that kind of development cycle is what hurt Anthem.
Yeah.
I would argue, like, the hype level was fine, but if they had a good game come out in February, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, and the transparency, too, to both their teams and consumers
Exactly.
and in between is something that they specifically said they wanted to change because that is what hurt them, I think, the most.
Good.
Is that they were trying to hide things and, like, they weren't in a frenzy or things weren't right instead of being like, hey, go play something else for a while. We're going to fix this.
Step one to fixing a problem is acknowledging you have one. So that's good. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. So let's see a year and a half from now. Let's see where they are.
I still think that Anthem has plenty of time to be fixed. I mean, they've got a lot of work to do, but I still think that it's
Anthem.
It's an IP I don't want to see go away.
I don't disagree. I think the big problem right now is that Destiny's on the swing up. Warframe is just continuing its subtle domain in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Division's rocking it. Division 2 is killing it.
Having come out so close to Division.
2, yeah, that was 2. Like, so
being coming so close to Division was like freaking trash.
Yeah,
that was stupid.
I just really don't know where they fit in this world. Maybe on the second one, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out if Division can carry.
Yeah,
and we'll see if people want to revert back to the Anthem world.
What world tier are we on?
4.
3, baby, up top.
I thought we went up to 4.
We're almost there. Moving on to some more EA news. It turns out that the wonderful EA Access, which is available on PC and Xbox One, is finally coming to PlayStation 4. This is interesting because Sony, when they were originally, EA originally announced this whole partnership with Xbox, Sony was caught being quoted multiple times going, we just didn't think it was worth the money for our consumers. It's $5 a month. No, legitimately, like, it's just not worth the money. We're not going to offer it.
What's wrong with that?
I thought it was great. I thought it was them going, whew, whew.
So,
if you know what that motion meant, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
For me, as a guy who absolutely loves a lot of EA products, now I'm not an EA Access subscriber because the only game I would use it for at this point is Battlefield.
You could play
5.
Anthem.
I could play Anthem, but the problem is that I've already spent, what was it, $70 or something like that on the deluxe edition of Battlefield 5. So it was kind of like, well, the only game I literally get out of this is Anthem, and I can't say how much I'm going to play it at this point because I've heard about you guys playing it.
Yeah.
Now that I understand. If I didn't already own Battlefield 5, I have an Access subscription, even though I don't play Battlefield 5 but maybe once a month. It's already worth it at that point.
It's $5 a month. And I'm excited because, one, you, who loves Mirror's Edge, will have access to those games.
Yep.
They have a couple of other smaller games that are available on there. Titanfall 2, which is one of the best first-person shooters of this generation.
It is amazing and so underrated.
If you haven't played it, you should play it. For $5 for 1 month, totally worth it. I think it's great that they're actually allowing that availability on there. It does have that creeping fear of the similar problem with PC right now, where you have a bunch of launchers for various games.
Yeah.
You're now going to start having them on your console, but I digress. It's still cool.
It's a weird thing to see, especially having to buy your games, both digitally. You already have the storefront there. It's like, you gotta have to deal with it. I don't know.
Hey, if it's $5 a month, I think that's Ubisoft. $5 a month.
Oh, hands down.
Oh
my God, that would be easy.
Yeah, you get my money every year.
Yep.
Speaking of PlayStation 4, they had their State of Play for May, which is another one of their video announcements. This is Canada now, bitches. This one was half the time, so it was only 10 minutes instead of 20, and did not focus on VR whatsoever. It was actually focused on some upcoming titles. I'm going to move rather quickly and just get your thoughts and opinions as I go through. So Monster Hunter World announced their brand new expansion. It's called Iceborne. It's the same size, roughly, as the original Monster Hunter World. It's like all snow-driven. They're bringing back a bunch of monsters from the previous games, adding a bunch of actions to different character classes, which I think is very cool. It looks beautiful. Like, it's in this snow-drawn area. You move through, leaves tracks behind.
I've heard that game made ripples in the industry, and it is not my game.
So if we could give up Division 2 ever, I would love to play together because it just looks so much fun. I might talk to the old Kepster, see if he'll play with me.
Oh, I guarantee you he will.
After that, they introduced a small little game called River Bond, which is this top-down action game. It reminds me a little bit of Zelda, but it's a little bit more frenetic. Very pixelated pixel.
Frenetic. What's the name?
What are 3D pixels called?
Polygon?
Yep.
Voxels. Voxels.
There you go.
Voxel art. How would you not know this? You call yourself a computer.
That's
programmer.
literally like the whole selling point of the PS4. It was the voxels.
Do voxels, baby. Voxels, it looks cute. It's coming out this summer. It has some integration with other indie games, including Bastion. What else was in there? Guacamelee, that kind of stuff for characters. So it looks fun. From there, they went. What's it called?
I think Google.
Cuckoo. From there, they went into a small game called Away the Survival Series. This was really weird trailer because it showcased like this decrepit world. It looked almost like the end of humanity had happened and like buildings were covered in vines and old stuff. And then it shot from the point of view of a flying squirrel. So you are this flying squirrel in this hostile world where there's like scorpions and spiders and snakes and they're all trying to kill you.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I was like, this is surprisingly unique and refreshing, and I'd be willing to try it for sure. They also announced a brand new Predator game. This is in partnership with Fox Entertainment, made by the developers of the Friday 13th game, and it is a 1v4 online game. So one person plays as the Predator.
As long as the gameplay is anything better than the Friday the 13th game was actually released at, we're okay.
Yeah, so
Everybody kept craving about that game, and I'm like, God, this looks awful.
So
the gameplay mechanics were great. Everything else about it was awful.
So here's the thing: is that they were.
Object collision, terrible.
I don't know if you know the history of that game. They started developing it, and in the middle of it, they were given the license of Friday the 13th, so they completely screwed up their development cycle. This is one where they are starting from scratch with Fox. They have the rights. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
So I am very interested to see how this goes. And Sony's publishing. So it's exclusive to PS4.
Ooh.
Which means you know they're going to throw some money behind it.
Yep.
So that seems really cool.
All I'm saying is, fuck you, Sony. I would prefer to play it on PC.
But it seems very cool. Interesting play for themselves, nonetheless. Moving on, they had the re-announcement, or not, no, so they did announcement again of Medieval, where they announced the release date, which is coming out October 25th, 2019.
Makes total sense.
It does. Halloween time.
Halloween, yep.
It looks really cool. I never got into Medieval. I bought it on the PSP and tried to play it. I know it came out originally on the PlayStation 1. A good friend of ours, Brian, is super excited about this game.
Yeah. I was surprised to hear about that. I was like, really?
As someone who is just a fan of remastered classics, I'd be curious to kind of take a look at it myself. So we'll see. It may be the case.
You know, I have to say, just get back to the Predator thing. It'd be really cool to see it on the PS5 with that, like, the sound. The
Oh,
acoustics.
yeah.
You'd be able to hear it, like, moving or something.
But don't
in
worry,
the trees.
PS5's cross compatible.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, cross. Yeah,
Right.
backwards
So
compatible.
if it's gonna be like
Backwards compatible.
Friday the 13th, did they say anything about? I'm guessing playing as the Predator. And
Yes, one person will play as a predator. The other people play as a squad of seals.
Yep.
All right, here's.
I hope you get to see someone's spine get ripped out.
And it looks cool. It was a very good concept video. They didn't have actual gameplay, so we'll see more from them, I'm sure. And the final announcement was a small twist. They actually kind of gave it away at the beginning because there's a sound effect from the original game as soon as the conference started, or the little video started. But it is the re-announcement of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. They actually had brand new models for the characters. It looks like they actually showcased some gameplay where you can swap between characters. As someone who has beaten the original Final Fantasy VII 4 times, I am ecstatic. I'm very excited about this game. It is a classic amongst the franchise alone. As anyone who has played the PlayStation in that era, even if you didn't like JRPGs, I guarantee you touch this game.
It looks like it's going to be cool.
It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. They changed it to a live-action combat system. There's going to be more revealed at E3, which is what they teased. And seemingly this will still be episodic, so there's going to be multiple games in the franchise.
So if you were to, like, compare this to another Final Fantasy, what would it be?
15 is what it looks a lot like.
Yeah.
It's going to be the modern take. I think it's a cross between 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 because the combat seems very much like real time. Whereas in 15, to attack, you just tap circle if you want, or you can just hold it and he automatically attacks. This one very much looks like you're going to press X to attack. You're going to do square to do this. circle opens up the menu so you can make choices like you do in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting. Okay.
but overall, I think this was a far more successful state of play. The last one was seemingly a little skimpy and kind of all over the place. This one was very focused. 10 minutes. Have a good hoorah at the end where they have a big bang. Like, good reveal.
Full of important shit.
Full of important shit. One last announcement before we end the important shit is DNA is working with Pokemon to release another mobile title. This is going to be separate from Pokemon Go, but it will still be evolving Pokemon brand. More details are to come, but DNA is a company I think is a solid mobile developer. They have a great partnership with Nintendo, and I'm very excited to see more Pokemon on mobile because if they could take the Let's Go franchise and move it to mobile, I think that'd be the smartest move you can make.
What Mario game did they make?
They did the Super Mario Run.
That's right.
Yeah. They've had a hand in almost every single one of them of the mobile games coming out, including the new Mario Kart circuit.
Nintendo bought DNA, right?
They have 10% stock in them.
Okay.
So, very cool. Let us know what you think about the Pokemon State of Play. Google I/O, anywhere. The comments are like above me, but to the right. That's really important later in the show. But this is
the important.
We're on sync this time. I don't know what happened at the beginning. These guys totally missed it. We're going to
Because he
do
started doing this
a
like
really
snake
weird
move.
transition because there's pizza in our
We
future.
have to bring some awful person up here with
You
some
smell that?
wonderful gifts.
Do you smell what Dylan's cooking? It smells like pizza. It smells like cheese pizza. That's for you, Queen Crystal.
That's burnt.
I know.
Did we eat her pizza?
Yes,
did.
100%.
Oh, shit.
Hello and welcome to our topic of the show. In case you didn't realize it, we have a loser here next to us. Because it turns out the PS5's coming out when?
Maybe this year, honestly.
Get the hell out of here. If you haven't watched all the way back in our back catalog of shows, which you should, because they're all hilarious. This is quality content.
Yeah, it's probably like a year ago.
Mr. Dillon here and myself made a pizza bet that the PlayStation 5 would release in
2019, which is still May.
in 2020. They came out this year, actually this past month, and confirmed for a fact it will not be releasing in 2019. Hence, all this delicious pizza.
The real question is, what happens when it doesn't come out in 2020?
We just said it was after.
I'll buy you a pizza. I told you. If it doesn't come out then.
All of you have to buy me a pizza.
No, we're not buying you a pizza.
Well, we did say specifically after January 1st, 2020.
Correct.
Is when the PS5 will come out. We never said it was actually coming in 2020. We
I'll
said
eat
after.
the pizza if it's 2021. However, we're going to sit here and share this pizza amongst
Eat that
ourselves
pizza too.
and then discuss why we thought it was coming out in that time frame, and then, of course, our future thoughts. We do have a previous episode where we talked about it, but we didn't get a chance to get our man on the show. So here we are today discussing it further. America, freedom, Buick
And while he
LeSabre.
talks, I will
And
feast
pizza.
into the spoils.
It is not a Buick LeSabre. You and John are so wrong.
Weaponized drones,
Ooh, cheese.
truck nuts.
That was John's whole thing.
I know, it was great. It was beautiful.
For like months.
Ever. Not months, forever.
Wasabi.
Well, so my personal reasoning. Oh my god, it's stuck to the thing.
Man, everybody's attacking this cheese. Show you off on the other one.
I'm going for this
Cheese is always tasty, man.
Yeah. Man, it's also better when you're not the one that paid for it.
You're not wrong.
It's like sneaking food in class.
I would
I didn't
pay for it regardless.
I think I won.
It always tastes
Sweet,
better when you
sweet
don't pay
taste
for it.
of victory, which I had no part in, but I am technically having a part in.
This predates
Oh,
my membership on this cast, so.
Does
Cheap
anyone
bread.
prefer edges or no?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So the
I
PlayStation
love
5,
it.
the reason why I picked 2020 over 2019 is simply because Sony's hot right now.
Mhm.
And I agree with your assessment. We've talked about it before. They're very arrogant. Very much so. The PS3 era, great example of that. Thank you, sir. Where they're just like, you'll get 2 jobs, spend $600 on it.
Yeah.
However, they're on a roll right now, and there's absolutely no reason to stop production of this console. Nor would you want to hinder it by announcing something else.
Yeah, I was about to say they still have a lot of backlog. They still have to sell, and they're not going to want to, straight up talk about PS5 and get everybody saying, "Well, what's the point?"
I mean,
Not buy it, and then they have nothing to do with
Well, it's been a month and a half. We had 2 state of plays.
Yep.
We talked about one earlier in the show, and then we talked one previous in the show. And they announced at least 10 games now. Some of those games we knew were coming, or they're like expansions on a game. But I mean, they have some cool stuff coming just this year alone. And we still don't know about Last of Us, Death Stranding, though Hideo Kojima's teasing on Twitter.
it. Mm-hmm.
Hit me up. Hit me right here. Ghost of Tsushima. They have some massive titles. And then the full release of Dreams. And
10 years later.
Yeah.
Hey man, somebody's recreating the original Metal Gear Solid in it.
Oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. I've seen some really interesting things pop up.
Did you see the one where they recreated the sequence in the Civil War with the
Yes.
Iron Man, Bucky, and Captain America fighting? Super dope.
I'm sure that took forever to do. Too.
Yeah, my biggest qualm though was kind of what we iterated before. It's just one of those. In my opinion, it's a weak play. It's like you're totally playing the safest play. Do you want to go for the fatality, or do you want to be safe? I think it's what you're talking about. It's just arrogance of like they're like, we're ahead. We got a catalog. We don't need to do nothing. We're gonna chill.
For all we
That's
know,
what they're doing.
I do think it's funny that you think it's arrogance one way and I think it's arrogance the other. Well, I mean, for one, we've talked about it before. We got Stadia. We got xCloud.
Yep.
You know, being able to kind of read the tea leaves and see how the audience reacts to that.
Yep.
Again, their sales are strong, and they're making smart plays right now. Like they just announced a partnership with Fox for.
The question is, do you think they would read the tea leaves knowing who Sony is? Like, just look at how they've handled the cross-platform integrations, how they've handled their network. A lot of things. It's like the tea leaves are like, hey, you guys got PSN. This is a great thing. You're free. You're winning. Now we should charge money.
I would argue that they read some tea leaves better than others.
Well, they had that opportunity to see Stadia and really understand what their future competition was going to be.
Mhm.
I don't know if initially they probably were thinking of a 2019 release, and they were like, "Whoa, we hear some bubbling rumors. We're going to have to hold off because we don't want to get blindsided." I mean, anything is possible. It's not like we've heard that they were definitively wanting to go one way or another. They're usually pretty hush hush on these things.
I feel like that is kind of hard to pull off simply because if they were planning a 2019 release in the fall/winter, they would have to be in production now. Like when Stadia was announced.
For all we know, it was a supply issue. They may have wanted to release in 2019,
That's true,
but
too.
they couldn't have.
Especially now that they did confirm ray tracing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's already having its own issues and demand issues. And
That could be a problem as well.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think they're fine. There's no reason to jump out right now.
other than the fatality.
Part of the ray tracing is that they're using AMD chips for everything, and AMD doesn't have an explicit ray tracing chip. So if it is going to be ray tracing, then AMD's got to develop the technology and deploy it to them at the same time. So
And theirs is going to be custom for the
Yeah.
PS5.
And it sounds like that's going to come with its own set of problems.
probably.
Granted, PS4 had similar hardware. Not the ray tracing, but in the sense of like, we have this graphics card that's like this, what's on the market, but it's custom for the PS4, that kind of thing. Those pipelines are all usually pretty proprietary, just based off of consumer content or consumer.
I mean, would they have greatly? I mean, you're talking about the fatality being 2019. You think that was going to be the fatality for just Xbox, or do you think the whole kit and caboodle, everybody else is just going to drop it around?
No, I think it was just them ending Xbox, and it's because Nintendo's not in the console world.
Mm-mm.
No.
Nintendo is their own world.
They're their own.
Like
universe.
and that's where I think it's very different. Like we're getting to a very interesting place, and I think we're seeing similarities in the streaming market as well. For lack of a better term, like these IPs are monopolies because you can't clone them. It's like Last of Us literally is a monopoly, and the fact that Sony owns it is a monopoly.
Mhm.
So you can't control it. So the way you win the console wars, if you own all the monopolies, you win the war, and it's over. So if you're on top, you release the next system, and you stay on top. And if you're a developer like a Naughty Dog or someone else, you literally have no reason to develop on Xbox. You are wasting your time. Because if like right now they're getting outsold like 4-1.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's like-
pretty ridiculous. At this
So
point.
if I'm telling you, hey, you can sell to 100 million audience on PlayStation, or you can sell to 20 on Xbox, why do you even waste your time, money, and effort in the 20 million? Like it's so much smaller of a pie. If you're only going to get 10% of a market, you're going to get 10 million on PlayStation. You're going to get what, 1 million on Xbox?
But
Yeah.
it,
It's
but it
10 to
depends
1.
on, but
Even
it
if
depends
you
on how
get
much
a
it
part
actually costs to, I guess, migrate or port for
That's
that
just my thing.
environment.
Is if it's a second gen system, that's going to be different. Like that's going to be like that's a big quality gap.
Right.
Like the difference in a PS5 to a PS4 should be a substantial difference.
Mhm.
So then the developers are all like, "Well, PlayStation's obviously winning. I'm going to go to PS5. I don't need to worry about Xbox." And then once a couple big titans come out on the PS5
Mhm.
and there's nothing on Xbox, everyone's like, "Why should I even buy it?" It's going to be bigger than the
Yeah.
4-1 gap. It'll be 10-1 sales, and it'll be 100-1 games.
You're not wrong because you already see that in the Asian market right now, where Xbox just sells nothing,
Right.
Yeah.
absolutely
They
nothing.
couldn't give it away.
No, legitimately,
Mhm.
they have issues with it. So I see your point, but
Well, too,
Also-
it's their hometown console, you know.
I just think it's one of those things where, like, it's like a boxing match. Like, you have them on the ropes,
and their days. 2019 was the haymaker of if we hit this, it's over. Whereas now it's like, let's end the round. We're going to sit back. We're going to weigh our cards. We're going to talk about it. And then we're going to square up again next round. So it's like you just gave Xbox so much room to catch up. They might not.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's what I was
They're
gonna
still
You
trying
give
to
them a
move from
chance.
Stadia, believe me. They're looking at that and they're going,
Well, I don't disagree.
now we're in complete.
But I still think that
Competition
while
with Google.
Stadia, I think, is awesome for like people like us at the table, I still think mom and dad are not going to go to the store and be like, oh, I've got to buy a computer for you to play this game.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, what do you play the PlayStations or the Xboxes?
You're not wrong there.
Well, it's
However,
easy.
retail's also dying. So.
Yeah.
Best Buy's thriving.
Surprisingly, actually.
It was?
Best Buy.
Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly
Rogue
enough.
Knight.
What
Such a good compliment with the pizza.
it really is. What I am super surprised or interested in is what you think Xbox play is, considering we now know.
Well, we know.
Like we know Sony's game plan. Wait until 2020. You think Xbox going to rush out 2019? You think they're prepared for 2019?
I think they're going to stick to their guns. They're going to try to take whatever market share they can right up front, because if they don't, they're going to be at a huge loss.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be really interesting. I think xCloud, what they thought it was going to be, was not Stadia. But then now that they saw what people thought about Stadia, they're like, oh my God. Guys, we fucked up. Like, this is bad.
I can only imagine
We
they were
missed.
looking at that and pooping themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So bad.
So I think that's going to be a big. I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis for their next gen. But I think Xbox, if you're at Xbox at this point, you're basically playing with house money, because their last conference for the one to unveil that was probably the worst conference we have ever seen.
God.
So nothing will be that bad. Like
TV.
It's
Yeah.
almost
Call of Duty,
impossible
Call of
to be
Duty.
that bad.
Football. Sports.
Like, it was so bad that they were pitching Call of Duty. They threw the title, and literally that fall, Call of Duty switched to PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh my God, we're out.
Yeah. Yeah, the market definitely was very vocal and pretty clear on what they wanted.
But it was one of those things. It was more they didn't stick to their guns. If they stick to their guns on that, there's a good chance that like it's not a slaughter. Like maybe they catch up.
Yeah.
Because if you can have Steam sales and you can give me Call of Duty for $25 2 months after it comes out,
Yeah.
because it's all digital, because you don't have hard disk, like that's a real big sales pitch.
Well, not
Yeah.
only that, like if we're part of a family, because they had this similar thing that Steam does, or they were talking about it, where it was like you have a family share thing where you can share with a certain number of people, like all of that. Where we were talking earlier today, because I now work right down the road from your house, so on lunch breaks I can go and play games. They're like, oh, you should go over and play Detroit. We wouldn't have to do that. Like if Microsoft had actually kept that in play, that would have been absolutely like well in their wheelhouse.
And I also think that given where streaming and everything is went, if they all in the TV and they made all the deals with YouTube TV and Sling, which they did, and then a couple other like big players, like there's a good chance we're like, cool, I have all my streaming platforms,
Yep.
all my games are digital, and then it's to where now it's like, oh, we have a diskless console. And it's like, cool, you make that barrier to entry like $100-$200 for anyone to get in on your platform, like
Not $250.
huge
So
miss.
dumb.
But if you get
So
to that
dumb.
$100 to $200 price point and it's all digital, it's one of those things. It's like that's a real argument.
Yeah.
Because I can play my TV. If I don't have a smart TV, now I got my Sling or whatever cable replacer I need, and then I can still get games on the Steam style marketplace, which is cheap. I can share with my friends and family.
Yeah.
Like it's a big sales pitch. Whereas they backed out, and now it's like you have the most like halfway twisted.
Mm-hmm.
It'd
Yeah,
be
but-
cool if you went this way, but you kind of went that way, and then you turn back to the left.
The question is, like, are they way too late for that?
They are for this
For
platform,
this year,
for
absolutely.
sure. But I mean, if they can do something along those lines, I mean, they are talking about the streaming platform.
Well,
They are talking about this future.
game streaming, I get, especially if you're doing small devices, again, 150 to 200 range. You know, that makes sense for me to just plop one on my desk anyway and play on it. But I mean, like media streaming at this point is completely out the window. Everybody's
Yeah,
got a
everybody's
Roku,
doing it.
Chromecast,
Yeah.
Amazon Fire Stick, something, you know.
Yep.
Like, or TV's enabled with everything.
Yep.
So, like, you're kind of well past that mark at this point. But, like, game streaming has to be there all in at this point. There's nothing else left.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was really weird because both Xbox and PlayStation, towards the beginning of this generation, were actually moving on the TV front. Where PlayStation was like, we actually have a TV studio. They worked on that TV show Powers, which we
Yeah.
watched the first season of.
I actually thought it was pretty solid.
No, it was.
Yeah.
It was a good interpretation. Unfortunately, I was so forgettable. I haven't watched season 2, and it's free and available to me as a PlayStation Plus member.
Yep.
So, but like, had they doubled down and gone the Netflix route in the sense of like, no, we're going to invest. Like, we're not pulling back. Sony as a company went through so many growing pains, and not PlayStation, but Sony, of like, we lost money in 3D TVs. We lost money in our movie department.
Yeah.
We lost all this money. PlayStation has to make it back, and they did. There's a tour de force, surprisingly enough.
Mhm.
But they didn't have the opportunity. And I do think that's one of the things that excites me coming into this generation is Sony as a company in the black.
Yeah.
They're good. They're no longer in the red. PlayStation has proven itself to the point now where they have sectioned off PlayStation, similar to how Microsoft sectioned off Xbox as its own like subsidiary almost. Still under the Sony brand. Sony still owns them, but it is like they have their own money, they handle themselves, and then Sony's a company that gets a kickback off of all the sales. So they get to manage themselves, which is great.
It is really interesting to see Sony's decisions compared to PlayStation decisions.
Yeah,
And how one is thriving, the other one is dying.
correct.
See, I don't-
And it's just like watching two heads fight each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, of course.
I think for me, it's much
We'll let
more
you
of
it's a
the
little bit difficult to get out.
scared Sony is the best Sony. When Sony doesn't have house money, to me, they're easily the best. Because with the PlayStation 3, you saw them really scared, and you saw them do crazy stuff. Sure, not everything worked. Like that weird TV screen that you could wear a pair of glasses, and I could wear a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
We can play the same game, but we see different screens. It's like, sure, that's weird. That's cool. It's a weird attempt, but it's like stuff like that. It's like you got that. You got PlayStation Home. You have a free network. You have all
Little
these, like,
Big Planet,
the
Infamous,
move
Yep.
controllers, and
Move
all that stuff.
controllers, the Flower Flow, Journey.
The spell book stuff.
Yeah,
It
it had
had
a lot
so
of cool
much
stuff.
of this stuff of like when you're scared, it's like you see them really trying. Whereas like now, it's like, and sure that Move laid the foundation for VR, which
Yep.
is fantastic.
Mhm.
But now it's like in PS4, we really got minimal innovation in the life cycle.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
VR was already docked from Move. I would say there's a
I-
chance that was probably at least thought of, and then it was very clear they're like, these controllers we
Yeah.
got a million of, yeah, let's get those out of here.
It definitely was apparent that the VR had been in the stages for a while, and I think Mark Cerny even came out and said, like, we've been working on this forever. It's just the technology's finally there. But I do agree with you. Like, we didn't get cool shit with PS4, like weird shit.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of cool games, but
For
we
sure.
didn't get weird shit.
And we also didn't get that many like crazy games where it's like it was very clear that they were hemorrhaging money into
Yeah.
first party platforms. So you got everything from like, you got tons of Little Big Planet, you got Infamous,
Mod
you got
Nation
all this
Racers.
Mod Nation, you got like all this stuff that came out.
I don't think if Sony wasn't on the fence, we'd ever get something like a PlayStation All Stars. Like,
Yeah.
For sure. You
Yeah.
don't get that kind of stuff. Whereas then it's like
Totally.
it trailed into the beginning of the PS4. You got Infamous, you got The Last of Us,
Mhm.
the end of those.
Yep.
And then it's like the rest of it's like it feels so much like house money. Like Naughty Dog, sure, take your time, make your game, that's great. But it's like I'm certain in PS3, like, hey guys, how do you feel about 2?
Yeah.
3. Can you do 3?
Have you heard the story? Is this a complete and utter segue? I'm going to pimp a book here real quickly. The story of the development of Uncharted 4.
Mm-mm.
So I've been reading Jason Schreier's Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. You should totally pick it up. Audible has it as an audiobook if you want to listen to it that
Okay.
way. He has 10 stories, I believe, of different games in development. I'm going to make this real quick. But apparently, Uncharted 4 was in some deep trouble. Amy Hennig, who had been in
Yeah.
charge of the other games, apparently they had a smaller team that was kind of siphoned off while the other team was finishing off Last of Us. Apparently, when people were brought in, it was seemingly like nobody really knew what was going on. And so Hennig was asked to leave the studio. And that same day, Bruce Straley and how can I not remember his name right now? The other director in
You're lucky I remember
Last
your
of
name.
Us. Damn it. I'll think of it in a second. I can't believe I forgot it. But they were brought into the office the same day, like directly after she left. It was like, hey, we want you to. They had been crunching on Last of Us. They're dead tired. They're hoping they get a nice vacation. Like, we want you to finish Uncharted 4. And they're like, okay. And like, we need it in 18 months.
That's bad.
And they were like, cool, we'll do it. We have complete creative control. We have the right to throw out everything that was made.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, on the spot, not, we need to think about it. Now we need to look. Okay. God, it's just nuts to me, man. Like,
When
could
someone
you-
says, "I will bring you your answer,"
yeah.
ask no questions, you're like, okay.
There's a whole prototype about how the first half of the game was supposed to have Nate not even use a gun. It was all about maneuverability. Apparently, the hook almost didn't make it in because they didn't work. It was really cool. You should read the story. It's fantastic. I'll remember the name of the other creator because I love him to death. It makes me sad I don't remember it now. But I digress. Like, you're right. They have house money now. Like, they're obviously playing with, like, take your time. That's why Ghost of Tsushima, which is from Sucker Punch, is taking forever. We saw some of the titles that we expected even get delayed out because they were supposed to take the time. Horizon was delayed twice.
But it's one of those things where you don't see all these
That was
games,
the
like
timing issue.
like Little Big Planet, then Little Big Planet Karting, and then Little Big Planet World, and then it's gone.
Oh man, I miss karting, man. I wish they'd done a Little Big Planet Hub. I was so excited
Yeah,
for
I
that.
hope not World.
I remember you and Brian played a whole lot of karting.
Dude, it's so fun. Like, the one thing I like about that game is it's cooperative. Like, we could play a race together, not against each other, but on a team.
Right.
And as long as one of us won, we won.
If it wasn't for PlayStation's first party stuff, I seriously have to wonder if I would have stuck with PlayStation.
Well, but that's
I don't
the
think
thing.
you would've.
But that's the thing of it. It was so like PlayStation 3 was like, cool. We're gonna beat Xbox with mature games because that's what they're best at. We're gonna beat them with shooters. Oh, and then we're gonna go after Nintendo. We need some of the kid audience. Let's make Little Big Planets. Let's focus on these things. Let's do All Stars.
Killzone, All-Star.
And then we got Killzone, and then it even bled, like I said, in the PS4 of like, oh, here's Knack,
Yeah.
here's the Killzone, here's the Infamous, and it was like they were loaded because it was like we gotta win, we gotta win, we gotta win, we gotta win. Whereas like now it's like you don't feel like they've gotta win anymore. You feel like it's one of those things where it's like what's the crazy first party thing?
I
about?
definitely
Dreams
feel a
is the
lot more
only
laid back
unique
out of
thing.
Dreams and Tearaway, which is like
Terror was a Vita game.
it was bleeding on that level of like because it came out around the same time as PS4. The port over is still really cool. I agree that they're not doing funky, but I would also argue that they're creating some of the best content they've released. Like God of War,
I mean, they went from
incredible. Horizon,
The
incredible.
fact that God of War beat out Red Dead is blowing me away.
Uncharted 4, incredible. Like these titles that they're releasing are just look up The Last of Us 4, please, on Wiki. I just drive me nuts, man.
For me, it's one of those things where it's like it felt like in PlayStation 3, it was like they were the ultimate underdog, like just breaching and clearing with a shotgun, and like sure you had the God of Wars, you had Last of Us, you had these like titans coming. Whereas like now it is like
just go to the Wiki and give me the creator.
whereas like now it just solely feels like
company
they just have a sniper rifle and they're just picking when to shoot.
I'm sorry, the actual.
It's like I'm just gonna sit
director.
back here. Brent's now available. I'm gonna snipe him. Cool. I'm gonna wait a year. I'm gonna take another shot.
So
Whereas
Bruce
before it was
Straley
like
and Neil Druckmann.
Neil Druckmann, that's who it was. God, sorry,
Wow,
Neil.
I can't believe
I'm
you.
sorry, Neil. I love you.
Wow.
But what you're talking about, like this funky, weird, interesting Sony, does exist. It's just on VR only. Like the titles they're pushing to VR are super funky and cool, and they have stuff that is exclusive to PlayStation.
Well, why do you think it's like that on VR only?
Because
That's the only one that's not house money. Like you're trying to win VR.
yeah,
Like they've got to win VR, so like we got to do everything to win VR.
correct.
Whereas like PlayStation's like, we won. It's cool.
Their first state of play basically said we're focusing on VR right
Yeah,
now. We
VR.
want to win.
Oh, Marvel Spider-Man. How did I forget about Marvel Spider-Man? I like.
Iron
Man's
Man
coming too,
VR.
yeah.
Iron Man VR. I'm so
I
excited
know.
about. I originally was so down on it because like I'm not playing this
It's on
rail
rails.
shooter.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, they're like, no, you fly as Iron Man. I was like, this is dope. Let's do it. But like, I don't lament it. Maybe because I have a VR, so I get to see that side.
Yeah.
Like I get to play with the funky stuff. Astrobot, incredible. I
Yeah.
have so much fun with that game. There's
Even to me, I would argue one of the
Moss.
coolest things they
Moss
did on
is really good.
PS4 was the little bots. You know, the little thing where you
Yeah,
control it,
yeah,
you
yeah.
vacuum and suck them in.
Playroom. Yeah,
It's like when the Vita first came out. What was that? Little Deviants.
yeah. Oh,
Like that.
we not talk about Little
Dumb.
Deviants. Let's just not talk about Little Deviants.
But it was like at least you tried. Like I
Yeah.
can see the effort.
I think that you are just. I think what you want. I don't know if it'll come back because I don't think that's the Sony we have anymore. Nor do I think we're going to go back to that Sony. They've obviously changed quite a bit, and that's not just Sony though. I think that's the game industry as a whole.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes going on in this whole, just in general on how they are going about things in both developers and entire system.
Even Nintendo is seemingly doubling down on fads and moving into like trying to make hits. So we have like Breath of the Wild, which is probably the most mature Zelda we've seen ever.
Yeah.
Like I know Twilight Princess was dark, but this seems to have way more ramifications and negative connotations and how the world works.
And they went back to the open world,
Exactly.
you choose your own path.
You see, Mario Odyssey's kind of a shout back. I know you're trying
So
to.
Mario 64?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. It did a pretty good job, but nothing can. It's like a lot of these games. I know you're trying to bring back a little bit of the nostalgia, and they did a good job of modernizing it,
Mhm.
which made it feel a lot different. If they tried to redo Mario 64, I think it would have failed completely. And that's why I think Odyssey was a success as it was. But to me, it still wasn't like the 10 that everybody was raving about.
That's my whole thing about the Zelda. To me, the Zelda will die on the hill of like that was such a nostalgia trip, and that game was like it was a good game. No part of it was great. No part of it was exceptional.
Here, sir. I agree 100. Like
Yeah.
anybody who's like Zelda deserves to be Horizon.
No,
Shame on you.
That is
Shame on
To
you.
me, it was like one of those
Bullshit,
things where it's like you just can't give passes for dumb things, and that game got so many passes. It's like, cool, you literally see like 15 people in this row die. It's because it's like
It's a
barren,
post-apocalyptic.
It's post-apocalyptic. There's
Yeah.
not people, so you don't see.
Come on.
So but the game you can literally run for 2 hours and not see it. Like, yeah, but it's supposed to be like that. It's like, that doesn't make it good.
Now, a great start. I can't wait to see the
For
next
sure.
one, which is going to use the same formula, where it's going to be open world and explorative.
Maybe there'll be 30 people.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe
There you
30, double the size. I'm all about it. But I think Sony does have an interesting space to play right now because they have become renowned for their first party titles. Those titles that you are kind of knocking. I know you love them, but you
Yeah.
are kind of knocking that approach. It's what's building their name.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. I don't disagree that
Because
because the
what kept
first
Xbox
party was
going for as long as they were.
the first party was huge in PS3 and in PS4. The difference is everything else. Like PlayStation's like, we're winning, so we drop the rest. Like, I would be willing to wager now with PlayStation up ahead, they don't take a chance on No Man's Sky. They don't take those big chances on those, like, No Man's Sky is weird, and
Yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
hemorrhage money on it, but let's push it.
That is what I was going to bring up. Is that they're instead of taking the weird stuff in on their own, is that they're working with
Correct.
second party deals.
It's like
in order to
they're
make
not
it work.
like, oh, we're gonna help finance this Rocket League game, make you PlayStation Game of the Month, and we're not gonna like hardcore promote you or Resogun or like stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's like you made these games have a really big platform. Now you're like, but look at our AAA games. Yeah, but Last of Us is coming. But
So-
Ghost of Tsushima is coming.
I-
That stuff is happening on VR.
Yeah,
It's just not. It doesn't seem like they're desperate, so it doesn't seem like they're aggressive. And I think that's where it's like, you get to the point of, I fear they're going to get to the point of where Xbox was, when it's like, we got Halo, we got Gears, what can go wrong,
but
guys?
Yeah.
but then you get with the PlayStation you want, because then they fall and then they go desperate again. You get everything you
But that
want.
was
in
my
that
thing
scenario.
about releasing in 2019 would show that you're not going on this cycle.
Yeah.
You're coming in, kicking down the door, and you're like, I'm winning today, or I'm dying today.
I think the problem though is that had they
You might
released
have
it,
died.
yeah, no, I don't think they would have died. I think people would have been fine. Like even with the PlayStation, was it the PS4 Pro releasing as soon as it had, I don't think that would have really impacted sales. I know a lot of people are like, "Well, just buy one." I'm like, "You'll buy another one." Shut up. Nobody can control themselves. They're impulsive. They're just gonna buy things. Sony is not wrong when they say you'll get a second job to spend $600 on a PS3.
Yep.
They're arrogant, but they're not wrong. Um,
Just because we don't like the answer.
Exactly. But I do think you hinder yourself because if you're a year ahead, you're a year behind in technology. If you're trying to expand that out, you want that to last longer, you're going to have to make sure you take the long play.
Yeah, but how did that work last time when Xbox was a year ahead with an inferior console? It literally took the PS3 5 years to catch up.
But the PS3 actually eclipsed it.
It did, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's my thing of like, the PlayStation was that much better. Like, working at Best Buy to me, it was painfully clear that like, this one is way better than that one. But it's like, this one's cool.
Yeah.
The Xbox was cool. And it totally had the name, and it totally had like, at least in North America, it was like, that was the cool console. And I was like, yeah, but PlayStation's like a year behind, and it's expensive.
So, but it's the expense. See, that's the thing. Is like I don't think the year behind hindered them nearly as much as the $600 price point, which
Yeah.
murdered them. On
100%.
top of the fact that they were like, "Hey, we're gonna have this like realistic sword fighting thing. Oh, there's a giant crab. Don't worry about that. We have Gran Turismo. That's like the worst Gran Turismo I think they ever released. Like they just didn't have the games.
They still
Arguably,
haven't released a Gran Turismo. Let's be real.
I mean they did. It's just
like,
not.
it's
yeah.
a prologue again. Right?
No, it's the real one. It's
Well,
go.
they said they're going to build 7, it's going to be like double size of this or
I
whatever.
don't know, man. Who knows? Gran Turismo
like-
used to be their best seller. Now it's like off in the corner.
It still
somewhere.
makes a bunch of money.
It does.
No
It's
doubt.
ridiculous. And I'm sure it has a bunch of microtransactions that people will be willing to spend on.
There are better options. And no,
want
I'm
that
not
thing?
talking about Forza.
Are you talking about Project Cars?
I'm talking about Project Cars, Project
Yeah.
Cars 2,
Yeah.
iRacing.
I wouldn't even go Project Cars over
Assetto
that.
Corsa, like anything.
I would go with iRacing and all that stuff. But it's like, I wouldn't go with Project Cars over it.
I would go a little bit Planet Karting.
Absolutely. Mod Racers, Mod Nation.
I
Racers.
miss Mod Nation, right? Like just that funky. Like
Yeah.
I
I
love
could
the
not
funky.
get
One of the
into
cars.
that
best
game.
Vita games.
Oh man, on Vita's great. Vita lives. Hashtag new release this week.
What is
Yeah.
it?
It would be Hawaii Shakedown or Shakedown Hawaii.
What do you do in this game?
It's the creators
Sell me.
of
Danganronpa.
no
I was about to say
it's
that's a
it's
different
the it's the GTA like made in it was like 16-bit or no, it was 8-bit.
Hotline Miami.
No Hotline Miami.
I
It's
I bought a Vita for that.
no God Hotline Miami 2.
Oh.
The Hotline Miami
I love
and
it.
Hotline Miami 2 both available to play on Vita. I'm gonna look this up right now because it's gonna drive me nuts.
Hotline Miami. I love that game.
Retro City Rampage, the creator of Retro City Rampage, and so it's like the old school GTA's before 3, where it's top down. You go around and like steal cars and take on heists, but it also is like parodying games of the genre of that era. So it's like this is 32-bit, no 16-bit. So it's like parodying Super Metroid and Mario. Like you get power-ups that are like that, but you can just mass destruction. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
That studio is very, very good. It's also on PS4, so you don't have to have a Vita, but it's cool that they're releasing it on Vita.
You should play it on
And they are pimping it too. Like on Twitter, they're just like out on Vita, and I'm like, Tucker, boys, hashtag Vita lives.
Where were you 2 years ago?
Where were you? No shit. I feel like we're kind of getting to a spiral here, so we probably should end our shots here. But before we get to the end, I think we should at least discuss, we've talked about the cons, we've talked about these things. You have not been on the show previously where we talked about our expectations, what we want.
Yep.
What are you looking forward to out of PS5?
You're gonna love it.
I'm excited.
You're gonna love it.
Okay.
So I think for me, as I've said way back in the day, is PlayStation Home needs to come back.
Oh, God.
Somebody's gonna need to be the curator of the VR infrastructure in the VR like home world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Home has the best shot because it was already close.
If you don't know what PlayStation Home is, you should do some YouTube Googling for what it was in the PS3 era because it was incredible.
I wouldn't put it that far.
I mean,
It had a lot of
it
potential.
had so much potential. It was a cool little space.
Yeah, and you can have like your own world. It was really cool. So I think that you need to build a hub world, and I think it should be more based upon an ecosystem and less based upon games, because I think that's unfortunately the next gen with Stadia and Xbox and everything. It's gonna quit being as much about the games.
Mhm.
First party is still gonna reign supreme on PlayStation,
Yep.
I think, but I think the emphasis is also gonna be on like what do you bring to the table. I was listening to a business podcast recently. It was talking about Here's the Storm and like how no one's really, or not Here's the Hearthstone and a couple other games, about how no one has really implemented a system that was like universal. Like imagine if Epic, instead of having the Epic Game Store, Fortnite was their place for everything. Like you had to go into Fortnite, you loaded into the world, and you drove over to this other game. You went to the Rocket League arena, or the one you could easily use today is WoW. Like to play Hearthstone, you go into WoW, you go into a tavern, and I play Brendan Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And so that builds a community of like, hey, everyone in this tavern is probably here to play Hearthstone. I can chat with these people. It's like a cool community.
Yeah.
I think PlayStation shot for that is Home, and I think that would be an amazing shot.
Mhm.
I think the Vita has to come back.
Yeah! Vita lives!
Maybe not necessarily as the Vita, but I think that you need second screen, and I don't think the phone's good enough.
I agree.
I think that either they need to make a really good Switch competitor,
Mhm.
or I think they have to all in the phone. I think the phone is the worst play.
Yeah.
But like what Nintendo's doing with putting phone apps on there, I think if you can make some games like MLB The Show, if I can manage my game on my phone, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or if I can play it on a Switch device, also cool.
Yeah,
You need one of those experiences.
Yeah, that kind of integration I think would be amazing. And I mean, you start with first party, but like if Persona 5 had an app where I could log in and go, cool, I'm going to play tonight. I didn't get to check my stuff, or Division. God,
Yeah.
Division had that. Or I could just go,
Yep.
let me check my inventory.
Initially,
Cool.
it was supposed to.
Yep, boom, dump
Yeah,
that.
you could also originally in Division were supposed to be able to fly the drone with your
Yeah.
iPad.
We
You were
don't need to
supposed
talk
you were
about
supposed to
that
come
guy.
back in, be able to do is help your guys
Oh,
out
I'm
while
not
you're
on
out
my PlayStation,
mobile.
guys. I got
So-
you.
They talked about it. They just couldn't get it to work in a fun way.
Yeah.
So they canned
I
it.
don't know, but I think that those experiences, like you said, first party, because my favorite memory of the Vita is I would go to spring training for Yankees baseball every year. I would play halfway through my season on my PlayStation. Then when I would go to spring training, I would play it on my Vita the whole time, and it was just seamless. I'm playing a game. I'm back at home playing a game on my PlayStation.
Yeah.
I'm on my Vita. I'm playing a game on my Vita. And it was just seamless. And there's another game called Crashland that had a very similar experience too. Like you're saying, like if it's a game like Borderlands, which is coming out this fall, you can have a Moxie card game where I can make money.
Yeah.
And it's like the money could totally be insignificant, but the fact that you're keeping me in Borderlands,
Complimentary. It's
For
gonna
sure.
be complimentary to the core game.
absolutely. Like I
It's
think
like
of,
what Gwent was, and then they made a full-on game.
Yeah. But Gwent was built in the game. Like if they had built a Gwent app where you
Yeah.
go, cool, I'm just gonna play the tavern, and those cards you obtained went back into your core
For
game.
sure.
Like
Is that
That'd be
like
cool.
a Wii U kind of interface though, where the tablet itself is sort of like a complementary thing to what
So
you're
you
playing
could-
on television.
you could
I know,
do-
I know you could play on the
yeah,
tablet,
yeah, yeah.
but like if you were playing on the television in front of you, you could use it as a
That would be
well,
like
amazing.
a
that's
map
like
or
that's
whatever.
what
Yeah.
what Hidden Agenda and those games do currently as well.
Yeah, which is so much fun. Like that phone integration is great, but it requires you to be at your PS4. Like
For
you
sure.
need something that you can take with
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
And I think that I do hope that is not something they let die. What's that called? PlayStation Live or something like that.
The whole phone.
The whole
Yeah,
phone
yeah.
thing,
I can't remember.
whatever that's called.
Yeah.
That's something I hope they don't let die. I think that'll be very like integral to their next generation. Because I was actually thinking, and it's another business podcast I listened to recently, where they're talking about Apple TV, Apple's Play, could totally be if they take over bars. Because you can then integrate all iPhones can play your games on their phone. Oh, you want to listen to Sports Center at the bar? Put in your AirPods. It links. And it's like, wow, Apple would win so fast. Oh my God. The same thing. PlayStation can do the same thing. You want to play the game at Buffalo Wild Wings? Cool, it's a PlayStation app. You just got to download the PlayStation app on your phone. That's all you got to do, guys.
Yeah.
And it's like easy play.
Well, and they started doing this maneuver on smartphones where like there's a Ratchet and Clank Endless Runner. It just has nothing to do with the core Ratchet and Clank game. There's a great, it reminds me a lot of Lara Croft Go, Uncharted game, where you're going around and solving puzzles and stuff. But it's so isolated. Like, that's not what I care about for Uncharted. But if this stuff could carry over to my Uncharted game in some meaningful
like
way.
say you were playing a card, like they had a card.
They
actually
had a card game, yeah.
for Golden Abyss.
Yeah, it was on
Yeah, my whole thing about like Golden Abyss is something you could totally have in a mobile experience, but let it be like, hey, the next Uncharted, Drake and his kid are gonna go do this thing.
Spoilers.
Yeah, so I was like, whatever. It's like 4 years old, but it's like Drake and his kid are gonna go do this thing. But it's like, hey, on the mobile version, you're just a kid and you're doing stuff at the house. And you're trying to figure out your dad's puzzles, and it's like, cool, I'm just in the attic doing stuff, and it's like, this has no impact into my game, or maybe it gives me ammo or currency or something like that.
You do that as prequel content. So you're talking about like, hey, Horizon 2 launches in 2 months. Here's a game that interacts with it. You finish it. You unlock this content when you move on.
You can
and
find
when the game
bios
starts
on
back
enemies
up,
and stuff.
And it makes no sense to me why these things don't, like Fallout Shelter should have totally given you something in Fallout
4. Yeah.
Like it's so easy.
Or Fallout 76, which they're both games are still currently running. Like, how could you not? So that's awesome.
But I think that the mobile integration / second device integration is something they totally need. I think continuing the whatever that thing was called with Hidden Agenda and the phone stuff. I think you still need to push off that. VR is going to be a focus. I hope the hub world is something big. As far as quality of the console, I really don't care. Like I don't care how much more powerful it is. It's like God of War was fine.
Yeah.
Like Uncharted was fine. Like no part of these was like, oh, it looked better if I could see his arm hair.
Yeah, like I'm right there with you. I like it'll be cool when it looks better, but also like if you care that much, you buy a PC.
Right.
I couldn't hear him fart in my surround sound.
That's a problem. Don't worry, that new 3D audio, you'll be able to hear him fart right now.
The thing is that they just got to cut the gimmicks and they have to be smart this time.
Yeah.
If it's one of those things where if you do not have USB-C to C on this device, like your PS4 Pro should have had USB-C.
Yeah.
No part of that makes sense. Your new controllers that you make new controllers with a little transparent light on your touch bar. It's like, this is very clear a second generation. Nah, we're going to keep using that old micro. It's like, what are you doing? Literally everything is switching to C. You
cheaper.
have the power.
And you already have, and those people already have.
It's not cheaper, it's future proofing. If you already have it, then you're like, oh yeah, when you buy the next console, your new controller. Already plugged in.
That would have been an awesome
Yeah.
play. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, they don't want to talk about PS5 right now, so why would they want to start giving more information on it?
Yeah. It's totally one of those things where it's like, they just need to be really smart about it. Because the other thing is, look, it's the super nerd thing. When PlayStation 4 came out, they used the old gen of HDMI.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing?
Why would you do that?
You're already behind. Like, you are launching behind.
I got one final question then. Can they be quirky and smart at the same time?
I think they can, but I think they need to be scared to be that. And that's the issue. I hope Stadia scares them. I hope Stadia comes out this fall and it just shock and awes the whole system.
I really hope they do too. So that way they're like, by the way, when you buy PlayStation Plus, you get PlayStation Now. At least 2 games a month. That would make me happy.
Well, yeah, there's so many
the 2
things
games a month now for Plus is depressing.
I know.
To me, it's like there's so many things they do that are like, it's like watching your friend that is so close to succeeding just fail. It's like, you have it. You literally have it.
You're almost
Just
there, buddy.
Put it together.
You're almost there.
Like, you got it. Like when they had the shared ecosystem with Vita, it's like, cool, you keep giving away these games, and it's like, why don't you just make a game for PlayStation Plus to promote the Vita?
It's kind of
you have the system that you want to sell, or do you? Because you don't seem like it.
It's kind of like watching you beat God of War, but not go after Valkyrie Queen. Like, you had it.
I did.
You had it.
Right
You're
there.
so close,
was
but
right there.
instead you just made me sad.
He just didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. When you beat the game, it's not like, oh, by the way, you should go do this. It's like, there
But
are
you
these
have
things.
friends. You have friends telling you
I can
this.
swear we had
How
this
long
whole
did it take me
conversation
to
like,
beat
go
it?
do this. Go do this.
It took me like 6 months to beat that
Yeah,
game.
about like God of War. How far along have you get? Did you get by?
I finally beat it. It was like 6 months later.
Yeah.
It's like Days Gone. I really want to play Days Gone.
No.
Partially because I keep hearing
Actually, yes. Spend the money so I can borrow.
opposite ends of the spectrum of like people being like, this game is buggy and terrible. And I hear
Yeah.
other people that's like, oh, this game's really solid. Like if you like The Order, the open world, like this is a game like The Order of like people are gonna hate on it. But if you play it, you'll enjoy it.
I feel
Sounds
like
like
Days
that.
Gone comparison of The Order is besmirching The Order. 'Cause
Yeah.
I actually like
I like The Order. It's one of those things like I remember seeing The Order got like a 68 on IGN or something like that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's not good. But I'd already had like the collector's edition or whatever. And so I played through it and I was like, this game was good.
We went.
This game was solid. The end is set up for a sequel, and they're like, nah.
The game came out and we saw the reviews and we're like, fuck it. As a group, as a household, we all pitched in $15, bought the game. I platinumed it, handed it off. John platinumed it, handed it off. Brian platinumed it, handed it off.
You were probably all like, wow, this is pretty
Oh,
solid.
it was great. I loved
I
it.
enjoyed the experience. It was fun. I actually did not platinum that game.
My issue with that game is the
It's
fact
so easy.
the game.
I just didn't bother. I was done with the story and I was fine with it. I was
It's a
good.
great. Good
Well,
stuff.
yeah, because the game ends in an epic way on like the rooftop. And
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, the next one's gonna be great.
He's the new Batman.
I had to. Oh, the only thing we're about to finish this up, but I just want to touch on Days Gone. I have seen a video where some guy was like lurking around, and in like around a truck over there, there's 3 freakers, and he's like, "Cool, I'm just gonna move this way." He's hiding in the tall grass, and then spawn an entire fucking herd right on top of him. It just spawned out of nowhere, and he's like, "Ah!" and dies.
Honestly, that sounds amazing.
God, that's
Talk
terrifying.
about keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No.
That's the ultimate jump scare.
Can't
You just
defend
spawn.
yourself.
But this is the second topic we have had on PlayStation 5. Once again, please let us know in the comments above
Hello.
us. It's actually just above Dylan,
Hello.
not above me. Very odd how YouTube does that. I don't
Hello.
understand. But make sure you leave your own opinions on what it is. Maybe we're wrong. Let us know if you hate us, you love us. Was this discussion really bothered by the pizza? Should we have more pizza-focused episodes? All great questions.
Yes.
You can answer them in the comments above Dylan. Moving on, because it is time for Last Call.
Last call.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I can tell right now, my reach is a little bit harder with Dylan right here. First, we're going to talk a little bit about our shout-outs for the week. Of course, we want to talk about our new recipe book. Yes. Recipe book live.
Yep.
No claps? Cool. Fuck you guys.
Nope.
Very excited about this. Once again, the recipe book has details about the drinks we make and drink here on the show. Whether it's a bottle of beer, bottle of wine, or a cocktail, we will have a special video clipped out, exclusive with the person who brought it to the table, talking about the drink, why they wanted it, and of course, how to make it or prepare it. We also have a new season of Strange Challenge. If you have not checked that out, you totally should. Queen Crystal, the hostess with the mostest herself, brings together lots of really cool clips. You can interact with her through our Discord or on Twitter, where you can bring your own clips if you want to enter them into the challenge. There's a new challenge every
Other Thursday.
There you go. Every 2 weeks. So, what was the last one? Anyone remember?
Snipes.
Snipes challenge. There's some really cool.
Yeah, multi-kill submissions will be due when you're watching this Sunday. So 3 days
Friday,
from
yeah,
when you
yeah.
watch.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Woo! That was a little one. Of course, we have our wonderful streamer who is part of the channel Xphobia. As we have said numerous times, I want to repeat, he is on all the goddamn time. I don't know how he is, but he is. Once again, if you're part of the Discord, you get updates as to when he's on. And of course, the streamer who is out of our network, but we love him to death, B Scotch and Dots. B Scotch and Dots.
Don't know where you're going. My pants are off.
One day we're going to record 20 clips and he's just going to make that his theme song.
We also do have some people starting to stream again that streamed back in the day. We have Michael Tumbleweed Kepley,
Ooh,
Yeah.
Molly Kepster.
Crystal, the host with the most. She's also streaming again as well. And then we have one of our really old members. He's also probably one of the oldest members, Nick Lavin, or Thug Nasty, is streaming again. Well,
I'm really happy you did that. I need a list. I'm just going to rotate every week.
Okay.
Every time I hear Thug Nasty, I want to say it like an English accent. Thug Nasty.
Still nasty. Like part of
you
Lock,
should
Stock,
do
Two
that for
Smoking
the
Barrels.
intro of his stream.
No, seriously though, that was on point. Like we need to record that and send it to him.
We are also talking at the table, at least between the three of us, possibly with a foursome. It doesn't necessarily have to be Dylan. It could be somebody else. Of doing some cool game content ourselves, a video a month or so. We're still trying to hash that out. We'd be curious of your own opinions. Again, in the comments above Dylan.
Below.
Let us know what you would like us to do. There's a couple ideas that we have, including playing Overcooked again, because it's wonderful. Playing some of those
I was confident.
PlayStation mobile games. No, why?
I literally bought an entire party pack with like Stick Fight and
Oh!
Overdrive and a few others. So like,
I think we know what we're doing.
Yep.
But let us know what kind of format you're looking for. If there's anything interesting you'd like us to do. Otherwise, we'll do our goofy Let's Play with alcohol.
Yeah.
Moving on, of course, to the question of the week. I stole this one from Game Informer. There's a link in the description to the right of John that has the Game Informer actual article. But the question is, what video game power-up would you like in real life?
What power up?
What video game power-up would you like in real life?
Well, the problem is like when you talk about power ups, I always think like Mario. Like,
So I agree. I'm going to go ahead and we'll just broaden it. Video game power.
okay.
If you need a minute,
Are we in a world that has other powers? How am I the only power?
you're the only power. I know. So something like Infinite
Delta
Seconds.
Gold.
My first thought went right to him. I'd actually take, I think, of all the powers, because, I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Cole McGrath. Power control electricity.
Also infamous.
Yeah, 100%. But the power to control electricity, right? He can hover. I guess he can move around places. I'm totally down with that. Are you kidding me? I would never have to charge my phone again.
Is it cheap to say my character from DC Online?
Yeah, see, that's how I feel. I'm like, that's
a little cheap. Yes, it's a little cheap.
I was thinking of like Spider-Man, Superman,
Yeah.
Batman.
I mean, of course, we also have, if you want Kratos' powers, he's got powers. I'm okay
I don't
with
know if I
that.
can deal with the
He's
fact that I'm
literally
with my
God.
family.
Yeah. I didn't say this had to be practical. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. If you want, Life is Strange, she has the power to rewind time. Yeah.
Ooh,
That's
that's
fair.
fair. Yeah.
So,
Mario's power-ups are all valid. I'd say any of Link's abilities are valid,
Yeah, you know what? I'll just go old school. I'll go Mario. I want to shoot up fire.
You want the fire
I
flower?
want the balls to bounce.
You want the fire flower?
Yeah.
You want the tail and everything too, like from Mario 3?
Yeah.
Sure. Cool.
That's cool, man.
The Tanuki suit.
I hope someone pulls over to me.
Mark, what's yours?
I've been trying to think of some things the entire time. I just can't
Be Scotch and Dots.
I don't know. Every part of me wants to go back to Thanos with the gauntlet. As long as I have
Pants
the
off. You
gauntlet.
better keep running.
What's that? What's that smell? It's probably mushrooms.
Shiitake.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh gosh.
Do Thanos the go. That's a good one.
Probably
just
Thanos
snap it.
Yeah,
That's
that's fair.
fair.
That's
That's
just
going to
Fortnite.
be, like Tony Stark and endless wealth.
Yeah, that's a good power. I like that power.
I'm probably gonna have to go with, just because it would be fascinating. I'd probably have to go with a Mortal Kombat character if you're torn between Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Oh, I know.
Because both of those.
Like
The Scorpion's cool,
but
dude. Are you kidding me? That's,
Sub-Zero.
you do so much of that.
Also, Raiden's a baller.
Raiden's baller. Again, a bunch of powers.
So,
The thing about Sub-Zero, though, is like,
4 arms.
you can, like, he has all kinds of capabilities where he can, like, raise ice from the ground. So you're like, cool, here's a platform.
you could be Silver Surfer and just
go up
surf
here.
around on it.
You can like make a copy of yourself and like flip backwards. And
Yeah. If you ever get mugged in the streets of
I
Charlotte,
would totally make so much money off of ice sculptures.
there you go.
Why not even frozen snow cones? Why did you
I
put
like that. I like ice sculptures because it's not like it's ever going to be anything else. It's always going to be you.
Yeah.
It's just
I do free ice sculptures. And we can even do like a liquor luge.
Get Sharpies on other people's faces on his.
That would be a good time. If you wanted to, you could like literally shave off the face and like do a whole different face.
I like the idea that you have a katana so you can cut it, but it's not really good. It's just like poorly designed. Like, what is that ice sculpture? Be careful, it melts in 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd go Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero?
Yeah.
All right, I like it. I'm all about it. Please let us know what kind of superpower you would take.
Comment
from
below.
in the comments above Dylan. It's very weird. Tourette's. I know. It's poor guy. We've been trying to work on it. Until next time. Cheers. With our empty glasses.
Yeah. Because it was that good.
Hey, you almost hit Theodore.
Oh, sorry.
That'll land